In this video, I will do a comparison between DeepSeek and ChatGPT to see if it's finally time to say goodbye to our dear friend ChatGPT. Now let's test the internet access first. So as you probably know, ChatGPT can read the latest events and news. And for example, let's compare this side by side. So I will first use ChatGPT to search for this football match that was played in 27th of January. So let's see. And it doesn't take more than like 5 seconds for the AI to learn from the internet that the match ended in 0-0 draw. And here we have all these nicely rendered newspapers that will give this information to the AI so you can verify that this is indeed true. Then let's do the same here in DeepSeek. Once again, Burnley and Leeds played, 27th, who won? And there we have the answer. And this is pretty much exactly the same what ChatGPT gave me, so the answer is correct, and it's also citing the sources. So as you can see, both DeepSeek and ChatGPT can access the internet, and they can also give you these links where they found the information from, which is super handy. So in this sense, I would give it a draw. But then when it comes to speed, at this point, ChatGPT is clearly faster than DeepSeek. So sometimes I might have to look for the answer for like a minute or two with DeepSeek, but with ChatGPT it only takes like 2 seconds. Then let's create some art using ChatGPT and DeepSeek. So first, let's try ChatGPT and let's give it a prompt that says, create an image of cats playing in the field during thunderstorm. And about 15 seconds later, here is your image. Now let's try to do the same in DeepSeek. Oh, and okay, right now the server is too busy to run this, but I actually know for a fact that you can't create those images here in the DeepSeek chat. So there is a model for creating images with DeepSeek, but you can't do it in the chat. So this is a clear victory for ChatGPT that allows you to use the DALL-E model to create these images. Then let's do a basic little coding task with both DeepSeek and ChatGPT. That is, I want to try if it can write or if those AIs can write code, and also I want to test the code if it's accurate and if it's doing what it's supposed to. So first I will use DeepSeek to do this. For example, let's create a simple snake game using JavaScript. And now the AI starts to process the request and it will start writing the code. And now this is pretty incredible. So all the code that you see here has been generated using AI. The DeepSeek absolutely nails it by a quick look. And this is something that would literally take a couple of months for a beginner to do from scratch. But now, even though it looks impressive, we still don't know if it works. So let's actually do one more thing. So because we have these two files here, I want to combine it to one single file. And then as you can see here on the right hand side bottom corner of this code view, you have this run HTML button. So you don't even need to move this code around to a separate code file because you can just run the game right here, right now. And okay, there's something funky going on, so it appears that the food is getting replaced automatically. But let's see, if I start to play this, yeah, it seems to be working exactly how I'd expect it to. So obviously the initial hassle that happened in the first scene wasn't something I was happy with. So this food that is going all over the place, you should fix that obviously. But yeah, let's not get stuck at those subtle little details because you can fix those by just letting the AI know what you want. So now let's do the same with ChatGPT. So once again, the prompt is write a simple JavaScript snake game. Okay, so it's using the ChatGPT canvas. Well, now one thing I can actually instantly tell that this is just JavaScript, unlike what DeepSeek was able to do. So I actually can't just go ahead and run this code. So I will need to tell it to add the HTML, that is to add the visible part of the snake game as well. So I'm just telling the AI that I want to combine this with the user interface and I want to have it all in one file. And there is the full code. So now I'll just copy it and paste it to an online HTML editor just to make sure that it actually works. And there is our little snake game. And this is actually better than the DeepSeek one simply because it's not spamming those food elements all over the place before I start to play it. But then on the other hand, this automatically starts the game. So it actually doesn't give me any time to react, and also the score counter is missing. So all in all, I would say that both ChatGPT and DeepSeek got me like 80 or 90% of the way there. So I'd have to do some minor tweaks to make it work as I expected, but both of these got very close. So once again, the verdict is that this one is a draw. And this is simply because both ChatGPT and DeepSeek were able to produce basic code, but in both of these implementations, I had some issues that I would have to fix. So both of these code solutions were, I would say, 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, but I would have to send back some messages in both AIs if I wanted to absolutely nail the task at hand. Then let's use these AI tools to do some homework. So I will send a file to both ChatGPT and DeepSeek, and I will try to figure out if they can solve my homework for me so that I don't have to spend an entire weekend on those. So for example, here we have some tricky integrals, and the task is to evaluate each one of the following integrals. I can just drag and drop the file here and say solve. And also one thing you might want to do is you want to press this deep think option or activate it so that it's using this when doing logical reasoning. And now the AI is doing the thinking process, and here it's showing what it is thinking. So basically, this almost as if there was a human that was sharing the information live as it's doing the process of analyzing this piece of task that we had in our hand. And there we have it. So there are the right answers, and here is the exact thought process that the AI went through when solving these equations. Then let us do the exact same here in ChatGPT. And here we have our answer. But one thing I can instantly notice is that the value for this B is actually not the same with the ChatGPT generated answer as it was in the DeepSeek generated answer. So I actually need to do some digging to figure out which one was the correct answer. Basically what happened there was that ChatGPT and DeepSeek were both technically correct, but the ChatGPT generated answer took it a step further. So basically there was this kind of an obstacle in the equation that I gave both these AI tools to solve, and DeepSeek was like, okay, this doesn't have a logical solution because of this obstacle, but then ChatGPT removed that obstacle to get closer to a logical answer. But here's when I first found some trouble with ChatGPT. So when I was trying to send my exercise sheets to ChatGPT, it didn't accept it because I was not a paying member. So this one is not an issue on DeepSeek because it's an entirely free AI model. But because ChatGPT took one of these integrals a step further, I would have to call it a draw once again. Then let's figure out if there is an internal memory that would help these AI models in the future chats to remember past conversations. So let's ask DeepSeek first if it has an internal memory. Okay, I think that the DeepSeek servers are done for today because there are simply too many people jumping in at the same time. But we can actually do this research by using ChatGPT. So I'll just ask ChatGPT to figure out if it has a memory and if DeepSeek has it. And as you can see, ChatGPT tells us that it can indeed remember things you've said, and you can use that in the future chats, but DeepSeek does not have this feature. And actually, when I was testing this earlier with DeepSeek, even though there is no memory, it claimed that it had saved what I said for future. So that was also a bit of a bummer. So this is a clear advantage for ChatGPT when it comes to using this, because you can clearly add some information about yourself to it and it will remember that stuff in the future chats. And then let's talk about privacy. So when it comes to using ChatGPT, the problem is that whatever you send to ChatGPT is sent over to OpenAI servers, and they are using the data to train their AI models. In other words, you don't want to send anything personal or anything sensitive there that you don't want to leak potentially. In other words, what we want to figure out is if you can run this ChatGPT model locally on your computer, and then we want to do the same for DeepSeek. And as you can see, you can run it locally, but the ChatGPT model itself is still connected to the internet. So in other words, if you install the ChatGPT application, it will still send your data over to OpenAI. But this is not the case with DeepSeek. Actually, we can already see here that in the ChatGPT generated answer. So DeepSeek is an installable software that you can run locally on your computer. So you can literally use your computer to generate these answers without the internet connection so that it will be completely private. And by the way, if you want to try one of these distilled DeepSeek models, make sure to check the video that I have left a link to the description. And this one is a clear victory for DeepSeek. However, please pay attention to the fact that this is a distilled version of the DeepSeek models. So basically this means that it is a stripped down version and it's not as good as the one that you're able to run online, unless of course you have a super powerful computer where you can install the heaviest version. Nonetheless, this is absolutely huge because now you can use AI to generate those answers locally on your computer without having to share information with a third party. And you can even try that by turning off the network and by turning off the Wi-Fi when you have installed DeepSeek to your computer. Then let's talk about something called open source. And this is actually very simple to understand if you haven't heard the term before. So if you develop a software and you make it open source, it means that anyone can view the code that you created the software with. So it's essentially like a cookbook where anyone can read every page. And also in open source software, other people can jump in and make contributions, which means that basically in the entire world is your developer team, if that makes sense. And now, despite the name OpenAI, the ChatGPT by OpenAI is not open source. On the other hand, DeepSeek is an open source AI model, which is absolutely insane because now this means that anyone can read how that code is implemented and how that AI has been built. In other words, anyone can basically create a version of something that is very close to ChatGPT. So this is absolutely huge, and this one is a clear victory for DeepSeek. And then last but not least, let's also compare the pricing. So as I said before, DeepSeek is free and the API is also very cheap to run. But on the other hand, ChatGPT has those paid plans that are $20 per month or even up to $200 per month. So that is crazy expensive considering the fact that there is a free alternative. So this is once again a clear victory for DeepSeek. So for most people, I would recommend DeepSeek based on the tests that I have done and based on the fact that you can actually run it locally on your device for entirely free. But also if you have some rigorous business use case and if you find something that you can't do in DeepSeek that you can do with ChatGPT, then definitely stick with ChatGPT.